All right, vintage lovers, have I got the watch for you? In 1918, a gentleman started a company in Switzerland. He used the Spanish expression yo mido and removed the word yo. Yo mido means to I measure. Well, he was measuring time, and he started the watch company Mido. This, people, is part of that heritage. Real gold bezel, stainless steel. The brush marks on this case, if you can see that, see if we can get that in there. You can see the vertical brush marks on the case. This has never been polished, ever. This watch, there they are. You see those brush marks? They go along the entire case. On the outside, it's stainless steel watch case with brushed on the side, and then a precious metal bezel, beautiful gold bezel. This inscribed on the back, it says Staff, San Juan, Puerto Rico, 1956. It is a Mido Multifort Powerwind. This is a super automatic, really in amazing condition. Thank the Lord they didn't loom this. You very often, in fact, almost always see this with loom all over the dial. The dials did not do well with loom. You see the buttery color that this dial has turned, and that is without any loom. If there had been loom on there, now if you look really carefully, you see the little gold dots on the outside. The chapter ring, they're up near the top of the dial, and it goes all the way around that outside. There are little gold applied dots. Just past those dots, the dial actually drops off the edge into the case. So the outside of the dial just drops, and it is just exquisite. So when you look at it directly on, the dial is actually dropping around the corners, and it just gives it the most beautiful look. Creates a little bit of shadowing around the outside. What makes this thing really unique to me is when you buy and sell watches, unfortunately, you see fakes constantly, right? You constantly see fakes. And I'm not talking about Mido. I'm talking about Rolex. I'm talking about, Pateks. I'm talking about a bunch of different watches. But when you give them a shake, right? You shake a Rolex, you don't feel the weight move. You don't hear it. You just don't. It's so beautifully made that as that oscillating weight is turning, driving the winding mechanism, you don't feel it. On less expensive watches, you will hear it. Zzz, zzz, zzz. It's just doesn't make them bad watches. It just makes them a watch that is a little bit, less put together, I guess, is the right way to think about it. They're not quite, as well put together. And very oftentimes, just feeling that is enough to know that you've got an imitation in your hand. Amazingly, this Mido, if you give this thing a shake, you wouldn't know it wasn't quartz. Hear anything? By the way, this is a Yeti Blue microphone that I assure you would be picking up any kind of sound. This watch is almost silent in its operation. Nothing. You also can't feel it, which is amazing, especially when you consider that this watch is, 1956, right? So we're looking at a watch that is 76 years old. This is 76 years old. Got it on a brand new, beautiful strap that really, really does this justice. Now, it is 34.5 millimeters wide, which is cool because a lot of watches of that era were 30, or 32 or 33. This is actually, it's 33.7. So it is almost 34 millimeters, and it wears a little bit larger than that. We've talked about the size of my wrist. It's about 8 inches around. So I have the ability to dwarf almost anything that you put on a wrist. But this is a decent size watch, even on a ridiculously circus-like wrist like mine. But when you see this on Noah's wrist, the average person in America's got about 6 3/4 to about 7 1/4 or 7 1/2 inch wrist. When you see this on a normal person's wrist, look at the photos of this on Noah, and it just really wears like a much bigger watch. Although that's not a small size anyway, especially for vintage. But this is one of those watches that you buy, and I guarantee you that this watch will never sell for less than you bought it for. You know, there's vintage out there that, I don't know, it's hit or miss. You're kind of taking your chances on some of them. Most vintage is going up. But the Multifort Powerwind Super Auto, you're not losing on this watch. You buy this, you're going to get a beautifully built Swiss timepiece that you can either pass on to a family member or you know, sell it or trade it down the road. Really a cool design. Do you see that? The lines of that? It really has a great profile on the wrist. It's got a serial number between the lugs that is 4 digits. And it shouldn't be a shocker that you don't hear or feel anything with this watch. One of the first automatic wristwatch ever was the Multifort in 1934 when they first introduced the Multifort auto winding watch. This Powerwind is the evolution of that watch. And boy, oh boy, did they do an amazing job on it. Check out the second hand on that. How smooth is that sweep? Honestly, you see very little. What happens, people, if you don't know, inside the watch, you have 2 pallet stones that click back and forth, right, to allow the power from the mainspring to come out in small amounts. This thing, it's vibrating at a beautiful rate. It's got a very smooth, the better that vibration, the higher that vibration, the less you notice that ticking motion. And this one is just really, really smooth for a 76-year-old watch. This is available right now on the site for $750. You can always make us an offer, but I'll tell you what, this may be the best super automatic Multifort you'll see anywhere in the world. I'm Tommy with a better time. $750 Multifort Super Auto from Mido, the Powerwind. It is available right now, $750, or make an offer. You know the drill. Beautiful watch. I'm Tommy with a better time, and I will see you on the next watch. Good Lord, this is beautiful.